Yeah, the weather outside is not that good. I've done a little bit of sanding, but I haven't been able to do any painting. I have been doing some printing though. I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel as far as printing goes. There are some small pieces, quite a few that I have left. Well, moderate amount, I guess. It's the big pieces that I really want to get done. And so I've been concentrating on those pretty much. Also, my Prusa printer is dead again. It was working fine, and now it seems like bearings have failed in the x-axis. The belt has jumped the pulley, and yeah, I'm not sure what the heck's going on with it, so I haven't even looked at it yet. I did print these on the Prusa with the Prusa silver filament that came with the printer. These are the helper discs that help keep prints from warping. I also had a brim on it. I probably didn't need the helper discs. It probably would have been fine just with the brim, but I decided to put it on there. 0.2 resolution, 15% triangle infill. No, gyroid infill on these. That's what it defaulted to, and I forgot to change it to triangle. So they turned out great, and then it was right after this I started printing something else, and the printer failed. It detected a crash, which means it thinks that something like the bed bumped into something, or the x-axis carriage bumped into something. So I think that was the pulley jumping teeth, because the linear bearings on the x-axis are bad, or I tightened it too tight, or something happened to basically cause it to, after these two prints, to fail. That's not the only thing I got done in silver. I also did this in silver. This is the one piece version of this. None of this is glued, by the way. These are all just put together, just like show and tell. The large pieces I'm doing PLA plus. So this is ESUN PLA plus, ESUN PLA plus. The leg, anything that's white, is ESUN PLA plus. That's a lie. The horseshoe, that's not structural. That's 15% triangle infill with a printed solid brand, white regular PLA. And the red is Xyltech red PLA. It's like translucent. And the silver again is Prusa silver PLA. So I got 3 leg pieces done, and the horseshoe done. Some of these small things. The silver stuff was all printed on the Prusa before it finished these and then stopped working. All the white and the red parts were printed on the Tivo Tornado. The black parts were on the Prusa quite a while ago. What we have here, this is the center ankle. Sorry. The center ankle prints in 2 pieces. The left and right ankles print as 1 piece. Those are huge prints, 1 day and 16 hours to print. These get glued together, and then they bolt in there. Actually, it's the first time I've tried to place that in there. Again, silver was printed on the Prusa. Fits in there really nice. Ankle was printed on the Tivo Tornado, so the 2 printers their calibration is close enough that things seem to be fitting together that need to, which is great. This is a hub. I was going to print a hub in PETG. They recommend PETG or ABS because it takes a lot of strain. This is where the legs connect to the body, so this would go on the other side of this leg. I have such a hard time with PETG on the Prusa with it lifting up. If anything takes more than 2 hours, it warps. I decided to just do these in PLA Plus on the Tivo Tornado, and if I have a problem with them, then maybe I will reprint. Otherwise, I'll just stick with PLA Plus. My droid is going to spend most of its life just as a static statue, I guess. So I'm thinking this 40% triangle infill PLA Plus is going to be plenty strong enough. This is called the hub insert. That's the hub. Can't remember if this is the A or B hub. One obviously goes on the right side and one goes on the left side. But if you can see, there's a raised area here with triangles. Recessed on this one with those triangles. So the triangles kind of lock it in place. There's spots in here for nuts, and then this kind of, I guess, sandwiches the heads of the nuts together, and one side bolts to the body and one to the shoulder, I believe. I obviously haven't got that far. Also haven't sanded or trimmed or anything. I just took the brim off the edge, so it's got a little elephant's foot there where from being close to the bed, the first couple layers get a little bit splayed out. So that's one of the hubs. This part 5.5 hours, the other part 12 hours. I'm printing the other side of this part right now. When it's done, I will have time to start this one, 12-hour print, which should be done in the morning. I should have enough filament on the spool. I weighed the spool, and my estimate is about 800. Well, no, that's I didn't remove the empty spool weight. I just realized that. Okay, well, I'm printing this part now. This part might run out of filament before it finishes, but it's a 12-hour print. So by the time I start it tonight, if it runs out of filament, it should be tomorrow morning. And I'll just, when it, like I do for all of this stuff that prints on the Tivo Tornado that does not have a filament sensor to tell you when it's running out of filament, I just watch the filament, and when the spool gets almost empty, I get another spool of the same filament ready, or a different color, whatever, which depends on what I'm doing. But for this PLA Plus, I'm using the PLA Plus on all the parts that need to be strong. So I'll get another spool of the eSun PLA Plus ready, and then when this one only has a few inches left to go into the Bowden tube, I'll stop the print. It's running on Marlin version, I think it's 1.9. So it's got a change filament option. So hit the button on the printer control box, brings up the menu, go to tune, and then from there go to change filament. And it will stop the print, move the hot end to the side. It will then back the filament out that's in it, and then tell you to put new filament in, hit the button, and then it'll warm the nozzle back up, and it'll extrude some of that filament to make sure that your filament's all the way through and extruding the right color and consistency so it's not jammed in the tube or anything. And then you click OK, and it goes right back to where it was, and it continues printing. So great feature, and it's how I am able to not have a whole bunch of spools with little extra bits on them. The Prusa has a filament sensor, so right above the hot end, when the filament ends, a lever triggers a switch, an optical switch, and the printer stops and lets you know that you're out of filament and you can change the filament. But the Tivo, you have to watch it. So because I work from home almost all the time, there's one day where I go to work, so I make sure that nothing's going to run out of print during the few hours that I actually have to go in. I just keep my eye on it. And sometimes it means I'm up really late at night because I misjudge how long it's going to take to print the filament, and so I just stay up and stay up and stay up until the last of the filament's used, or I just take it off when there's a couple 100 grams, put a new one on, and then the next morning take that new roll off and put the one with 200 grams of filament back on, so I can use the rest of that up and then switch back to that other filament spool. So it just depends on what time of the night it is, how tired I am, how much is left in the print, etc. So the big prints, like I was saying, I can take this apart. It's not glued. It's the ankle bracelet. And I forget the name of some of these parts. Forgive me here. There's 2 pegs that go, one peg in here, one peg in here. I have those. I printed them. I just didn't put them in for this demonstration. The bottom of this, you can see there's a channel and some holes. So the straight channels right and left, and this kind of smiley face channel, there are pieces of, there's a filament that you print, and it fits just inside those, and they're a guide, so when you put it on here, it locates it based on these contours so it doesn't wobble around. And then I'm pretty sure that that one right there goes with that, and you put a magnet in each so it is held on with a magnet, I'm pretty sure. Again, I've printed these, but I haven't looked too much at the build. And then we've got this, which might be an upside down. I apologize if it is. Again, I printed it. I haven't looked which way it goes for sure. There's single piece and 2-piece versions. I just went ahead and did the 2-piece. There are holes, a couple sets of holes. One set of holes is for 1.75 millimeter filament. You can put a little piece in there, and that helps you locate the 2 pieces together when you glue them. And then this hole, you put a 1.75 millimeter piece of filament, and it goes through here or there if I've got it upside down. And it locates it in the middle of that, so it doesn't move around when you're gluing it. It locks it in place where it's supposed to go. The buttons here are the same type deal. There's a hole for filament in them. The horseshoe, same deal as the red booster cover there. You print pieces that go into 3 channels on this, and they locate inside these contours. So it knows, it's pretty much locked where it's supposed to go. And then this one has how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 places for magnets, and they match up with the 4 pieces here. I've already gone over this before. So that'll hold it in place. The magnets and the channels keep it in place, keep it from moving around. And then because these are interchangeable, some of the Star Wars movies, the part over here with the buttons the buttons are facing forward on R2D2. Sometimes they're over here, facing backwards. So if you get the polarity of your magnets right on both sides of your legs, you can swap that if you want. You can take this, put it on the other leg, and the buttons will be over here. And then take that piece and put it on over here, and the buttons will be backwards instead of forwards. These pieces were printed on the Prusa before I had a problem with the Bondtech gears that pull the filament down into the PTF E-tube that goes into the hot end. Sorry if that's Greek for people who don't know anything about 3D printers. But basically, you want your filament to have a straight shot all the way down through all of the mechanical bits until it comes out the nozzle. And I had the gears that were a little bit offset. And so a lot of the stuff I would print okay for a while, and then it would get a layer that was really thin under extruding, and it was You could just crack it in half as you pulled it off the bed, which I'm pretty sure is in one of my last videos. So these pieces, the two, this one and then the one for the other leg, are a little bit rougher than they would be if I didn't have that problem going on. It just was starting with printing these pieces. So I fixed that problem, and then like I said, now I've got the bearings are all jacked up right now. Okay, and then you've got the leg. And this is the version 2 leg because you need a 500 by 500 millimeter print bed to print the Mark III version of the leg, which is exactly the same as this leg. It's just all one piece. So this one, to be separate pieces to fit on a print bed that's 200 by 200, because it's from the version 2 files, is 3 different big heavy pieces. And then there's 2 pieces on each side that help lock them together. So they're dovetail joints, and then there's these pieces that all hold all that stuff together. So when you get all that together and glue all that together, it's really strong because it's held in place by a lot of surface area glue. So there's other videos that show this. So if I can't do this easily with one hand, then I might just give up. But so those pieces on the side, and then this one, it's the lower leg. Again, this is a 40% infill triangle. Or is this 35? I think it's 40%. I might have done 35, but I think I did. Pretty sure I did 40%. PLA plus. And then take those off. Got these two that are together, and it looks like I'm not going to be able to do that with one hand. So they've also got dovetails holding them together. There you go. And there's the bolts that go line up on the hub piece that attach to the body. So like I said, I'm getting to the end of the big pieces, which is good because I just my Tivo Tornado, you know, knock on wood here, has been pretty much flawless. My Prusa has had several problems, but the Tivo Tornado I got off Craigslist for $175, and that included 8 rolls of filament. Has pretty much not missed a step. So I'm worried that at any time it's gonna break, and it's the 300 by 300 millimeter bed. So any parts that need a 300 millimeter by 300 millimeter bed, like this, like the single print horseshoe, wanted to make sure that I got those printed. And now that they're done, and the Prusas stopped working. It stopped working. Actually, I was printing one of these, and that's when it went haywire. And I was sitting there, and I heard it making odd noises, and looked over at it, and saw that it was detecting crashes, and then saw it do it a second time shortly after the first time, and then noticed that it was making weird noises, and it wasn't moving right. So these I had planned to print on the Prusa so I could spend more time printing the larger things on the Tivo, but that wasn't to be. So printing these on the Tivo now. Got both sides of the legs have the 3 big pieces. Now these don't have to print. These could have printed on the Prusa, but I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to print all the big stuff on the Tivo. This is the center ankle, which is a 2-piece. I will be printing the ankles for the left and right leg. So ankle for this leg, ankle for the other leg. And those are 1 day and 16 hour. So really long prints, 40% infill, 5 shells, triangular infill to make them really strong. All the weight of the droid is on the ankles, so they need to be super strong. So 2 ankles to print in eSun PLA Plus that will take a long time, more than a day each. And then after that, I've got the foot shells. So the leg goes into the ankle, then the ankle goes into the foot that has the actual drive motors and wheels in it. So I still have some of the drive units. I haven't figured out if I'm going to purchase the wheels or print them and make them myself. So there's 2 different types of frames to print depending on which way you go. So I'm going to leave that till I decide. But those are small enough to print on the Prusa. So they're not critical. So I'm trying to get the heavy critical stuff done first. So the 2 ankles. And then the foot shells, that's his feet. If you look at R2, his feet. So there's one for the center leg, and then there's one for left and right leg. The center leg I can print in one print on the Tivo Tornado. It's small enough to fit on that print bed in one piece. I believe that the left and right foot shells are not going to fit. I have to print these split versions, which is fine. There are split versions where you print the, I guess it'd be the forward half and the back half, and then they glue together. They're not weight bearing. The ankles go into the drive units and the wheels touch the ground. The foot shells just kind of cover all that up, basically. So they'll just be regular PLA. Depending on what my filament status is, I might have enough PLA Plus left to print those. I might have to buy a couple rolls of filament. I'm getting close. So the 2 ankles, the 3 foot shells, and then I'm printing the second one of these now, and then I've got this one to go. So this is 12 hours. I've got 2 40-hour ankles to print. I've got the foot shells, which I haven't really looked at how long it's going to print because I loaded them to make sure that I couldn't print the single file foot shells, and I'm going to have to do the 2-part and then glue them together, which is fine. So I'm getting close. Once I finish that, there's a lot of things like, you'll see this recess area here. There's a little cup that fits in there, and then the bolt goes in that cup, and it's just to help with the strain so that the bolt isn't right up against this large leg part. There'll be an insert, and then that goes through the insert, so if anything cracks, it'll be that insert, so you can replace that insert. So I do want to do those in PETG on the Prusa, which I hate PETG, and anything over 2 hours on my printer seems to warp no matter what I do. But those should be small enough that they're fine. Of course, there are 4 per leg, so there's 8 of those. There are other things like that. I can't remember if there are some hub related. I think there are. I think there's the same thing, 4 right in here. It might be 4 for the hubs. The same type of little cup that holds the nuts in them. And a few other things like that I want to print in PETG. And then I'm back to the dome. My dome from 2017. The dome from 2017, I have not printed the hollow projectors. I have not printed the PSI mounts. And again, apologize if you don't know what those are. I tried to print a hollow projector on the Prusa, and the Prusa slicer made it so that the little ribs on the holo projector did not print at the top of the print. I go into print preview after I've sliced it, and they're like in the air for some reason. When it slices it, it makes them come off of the print, so you're printing something round that's straight up, kind of like this. It's got these ribs sticking out that go all the way to the end, but about that far from the end, they start printing in the air because of the way the slicer is slicing. And I've messed with the settings, looked online, detect thin walls, people say that's what you need to do. I turn that on, and then when I slice it, the ribs all completely disappear in the preview. So I've got to look at that to figure out how I can print the holo projectors, or maybe buy them from somebody who's got a resin printer that can print them in higher detail anyway. The PSI mounts, I have the electronics for the dome. The light comes through them, so they need to be translucent. I have a little bit of glow-in-the-dark filament left that I had done some just regular other non-related to R2 prints with. And I have a very small amount, and it's basically kind of an off-white, and it's kind of transparent. So I might print the PSI covers out of that and see how they look. And I also have a full spool of clear PLA. Clear PLA is a bit tinted yellow just because of what PLA is, being a natural filament. So I'm not sure if that's good or not, or if I should just use some plain white PLA. Some people have done that too. So that it just depends on how translucent, how much light from the electronics comes through. So I haven't done that part yet either. But for right now, as I said, my main focus is getting the large prints that take multiple hours done, and I'm getting really close. The two ankles, the foot shells, and then the other large hub piece. So I'm getting there. I am getting there. The weather has turned to fall, definitely. So I can do sanding outside. I can do some gluing in the garage, but I am kind of stumped as to what I'm going to do about painting. I'm just not going to bother painting anything until the weather improves, or if maybe I'm going to try and make, some people hang some sheet plastic in their garage and put some heaters in there and try and make a little paint booth. So we'll see if I end up doing that or not, but I do have quite a bit of sanding to do before I even have to worry about being out of things to do. So again, a lot of my parts are like this one where they just came off the printer. They haven't been sanded. I'll just take the brim off, which sometimes leaves a bit of a jagged edge. Also some Z-banding issues there. So plenty of stuff to do to sand. Glue things like this together. Sand it. That stripe down the middle is not that bad. I think the color of this filament kind of makes that look worse than it is. It makes it look like that's really a flat spot. It's not that bad. So this one is printed. I might have printed this one at 0.12 resolution. In fact, I think I did because it's so smooth. So yeah, just a little bit of probably glazing putty on the top. I'll probably this is a quality print where when I glue the two halves together, I'll probably lightly sand down the seams and then just prime it. I won't do what I was doing with the body, spreading the glazing putty before I spray paint it. This is so smooth already that I'll bet just a fairly heavy coat of primer will almost take care of all these layer lines because they're so thin. Which is a shame that Prusa printer decided not to work again. So I can't do any of the other stuff left with that resolution. This is another one that was printed with that resolution. And that one, okay, I can feel it's a little bit flat on the top. But just a really nice quality print that's not going to take too much finish work, I hope, to get to where I'm happy with it. Yeah, and I guess I'll stop there for the week. I'm not sure how much more I'll get done. This will, well, if I post this on Wednesday, I'm making it on Wednesday, and I'll probably post it on Wednesday. I won't have another one for this week, so that's it. Hopefully the next video will have a couple of printed ankles, or at least one printed ankle. We'll see.